Hey everyone, welcome back to Safe Fitness Training. In the description box below there is a free guide to get started with at-home exercise for all age groups. This is really geared toward elderly and seniors, but these high-intensity training concepts, there's nothing new about them. We've been doing them for a long time. It's just that what we keep finding is that every single little piece of scientific research and evidence that comes out always points to high-intensity training being the way that everybody should have been training from the beginning. That includes elderly and senior citizens. For the past 6 months, I've been using pretty much, primarily, and I mean 75-80% of all of the coaching that I've been doing has been with timed static contractions in the comfort of people's own home. And, I will be honest, it does take a little bit of mental effort to really understand exercise, not just the physical effort. There's a reason that we want to go slow. We want to accentuate the parts of the exercise that are most beneficial. Not only at gyms when you see people doing things like this, like I'm doing a squat, and this is what they're doing, and they think they're making some sort of effort or headway. They're jerking themselves up and down. They're using their joints really quickly. They're not letting their muscles really engage deeply. And you see, even when people do use challenging enough weights, or when they use challenging enough body weight exercises like the ones in my course or in that free guide down below, when you use intensity for these things, there's still a tendency for the body and the mind to try to say, oh God, help me, this is uncomfortable, and then try to either move really fast through the points of range of motion that matter the most, or just ignore it and try to stay away from it. This is why I like static holds so much, and timed static contractions, because it makes the person that's doing the exercise stay in the maximum contraction point without movement, so they have to contract against it. There's no fast jerky movement. They can't move a little faster through the most impactful part of the squat at the very bottom. They can't do that anymore because now they're doing the squat. It's just as deep as you can squat, for a minute and a half, essentially. Every muscle group in the body has a natural maximum contraction point. The goal of ours is to get as close as we can to that maximum contraction point without hurting any joints, and essentially what we're doing is we're also recruiting the most amount of muscle fibers that we possibly can. So when you think about this practically, these things, knowing these can help you really put together an exercise routine that helps you get the most out of exercise. When you know this is the place in this range of motion where I'm contracting the deepest, which, just like you can imagine for the pressing exercises, like pressing through your heels like a leg press, that's going to be when your heels, like if I'm on a leg press and my leg, let me just use my leg, my leg comes back as farthest that my feet can come to me, that's where my glute muscles, all the muscles are going to be contracting the most, essentially. Most of the muscles are going to be contracting the most in that one position. Same thing with the chest press. When you're really close to yourself, just like this, you can feel the chest muscles so much more than if you're out here in the range of motion. You're going to be feeling triceps a whole lot more when you're all the way out there. So knowing these things, but then putting them to work with exercise, especially when we're doing body weight exercises. Here's a good example of why this matters so much. A lot of people, especially elderly seniors, y'all aren't conditioned quite as much as some other people are when you're first beginning. If I was to tell you, hey, I want you to do a push-up, the form is probably going to be wrong because you're going to be so focused on having to push up, having to do a push-up. That's not what helps the muscles grow. It's just the force against an immovable object. But conversely, if I was to put you in a prone position, and this is one of those on that sheet that you can download down below, the free PDF, instead of telling you to do a push-up, what I would prefer for y'all to do, to really try out, to feel the intensity of this, and how you really can get maximum intensity from these exercises if you just do them, right? We have to be able to do it first. But if I was to tell you, instead of pushing up, what I want you to do is lay on your stomach against the floor, put your fists just gently right about where your armpits are, and push into the floor. Now, of course, I'm not prone on the floor. I'm going to do this in a video sometime next week. I'll have a video on the push-up position. Again, this isn't a push-up. You don't have to push up. All we want to do is fully fatigue the chest muscles. When I say fatigue, I mean inroad to complete momentary muscular failure. When they can't move any further, then that's absolutely when they need the next 3 to 7 days to repair. And these are the concepts that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to exercising. What's important. You really only do need one intense session per week, especially if you're elderly. All of this is going to be in my course that I release, so I'm going to be going over some of those other maximum contraction points. For other exercises, it's very different, of course. If I was doing a bicep exercise, moving through that range of motion, right about here would probably be the maximum contraction point for most people. And that's pretty normal across the board. Instead of it being in the starting position down here, I'm getting more out of my bicep muscles when I contract them there. And you can feel this yourself. You know, you can experiment and see, oh yeah, that's absolutely true. You can find these maximum contraction points for yourself. And finding these, it's a logical process that leads people to understand what a bad exercise is, right? So, you know, people, of course, this is one of the most common bad exercises. People doing these kickbacks or whatever. Well, you know, what they're doing is they're putting their hip in a place of passive insufficiency, and it's pinching. You can feel it pinching, so they think, I'm getting so much out of this because I can feel it. Of course, that's extremely inaccurate. Because to work the glutes, the maximum contraction point is when your feet are close to you. If I was down here with completely bent up, applying pressure against an immovable object, or of course weights like a leg press, that would be the proper way to work the glute muscle. I'm going to go through the push-up position exercise, which is pushing against the floor in an immovable way. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Of course, they're all on that sheet that you can download for free. The lat pull down, the Superman, and then those other two, chest press at home, basically, a push-up position, and then a squat. So all of those are very important. There's a few more that you can add to it, and I'll get to those things. Download the PDF, and, well, I'll see you on the next video.